This book contains the answers to all of the questions you have ever had in your entire life. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and to the third episode of Book Club. I'm Dr. Ketki and today I have a new book for you. It's called Don't Believe Everything You Think. This book claims to contain the answers to all of the questions you have ever had in your entire life. And I understand it's a bold statement to make, but as I started reading it, I felt a lot of peaceful feelings and a lot of happiness. Even though it looks like a very short book, there's a lot of wisdom in these pages. And before I start sharing these principles with you, I would like to warn you that you will not be the same person as you were before you understood these principles. So be ready to witness a massive change within yourself. So without further ado, let's embark on this journey to finding the root cause of suffering in life. And by suffering, I mean emotional and psychological suffering. In this book, there's a beautiful line: even though pain cannot be avoided, suffering is a choice. Think of pain and suffering as two different arrows. Anytime we go through something negative, these two arrows are being shot at us. The first arrow of pain strikes us physically, and anytime something like an arrow strikes us, it's of course going to be painful. But the second arrow is optional, and it is the arrow of suffering or emotional pain. And that hurts even more than the first one because it hurts longer, as long as we allow it to hurt us. Because this arrow is just our reaction to the first one. It is our reaction to the pain that we experience. The good thing is that this second arrow is completely optional. But just like the author thought, who in their right minds would actually choose to be hit by this arrow of suffering? I mean, who in their right minds would actually want to suffer? Nobody is going to make that choice if it was available to us, right? But most of us don't have this awareness that we do have a choice in this. If you want to avoid suffering, you need to understand where it is coming from. It's coming from your own thoughts and the meaning that you give to each experience. Let's say, for example, you went to a restaurant with your spouse and the whole time you were thinking about something that happened at work and you are feeling all of these negative emotions. Even though both of you are eating the same food, you are experiencing a different reality. In the same way, most of the time we are not actually living in reality. We are living in the perception of that reality. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's good because then we can change the perception of that reality, even though we could not change the reality. And it might sound like a hard thing to do, but it's not that difficult. It's actually very simple. Let's say you went back to that restaurant with your spouse and this time you're not thinking about anything. You're able to enjoy the present moment. So this time you're going to experience a different reality. And you must have experienced this yourself. The easiest example would be if you were watching a movie with your family and you were thinking about something else, not really paying attention to the movie. You're going to remember very little of what actually happened in the movie. In the same way, in this movie of life, whenever you're not paying attention to the present moment, you're going to miss this experience of life. It's as simple as that. So that leads us to a different question. Do we have to stop thinking completely? Actually, that's not even possible, right? From the point of evolution, it's our ability to think, rationalize, and analyze is what keeps us alive. It's our mind's job to alert us of any potential danger. But you must remember that you can't trust your mind completely because even public speaking seems like a threat to our mind, and that's why we feel scared when it comes to public speaking. Our mind is trying to protect us from potential embarrassment or people laughing at us. I think that's why this book is titled as Don't Believe Everything You Think, because we really can't believe our own thoughts. It doesn't mean that all thoughts are bad. Thoughts help us create everything. It's the thinking that is the real problem. This concept is a little hard to get, that there's a difference between thoughts and thinking. So let me make it easy for you. All kinds of thoughts pop in our heads all day. And we can't really control which thought will enter and from where. But what we can control is the thinking that follows the thought. Thoughts don't require a lot of energy and effort on our end, but thinking requires a lot of energy and effort, and this is the root cause of all suffering. Let's say someone said something negative to you. You will experience a negative thought for that moment, and if you went home and you kept thinking about that thought, then that thinking is what is going to cause you suffering. So thoughts are not inherently good or bad. It's the thinking about them is what causes us emotional suffering, and this is what keeps us stuck in that negative zone. Let's do a quick experiment. So whatever I'm going to say now is going to create a thought in your head. Notice that initial thought. Okay, let's do this. So if I told you you could become anything you want right now, what is it that you would like to become? Take a few seconds and see what pops in your head. Do you want to be a singer? Do you want to be a musician, a painter, a blogger, YouTuber maybe? How are you going to be whatever it is that you just thought about? How are you going to accommodate this in your life? Do you have the time for it? Do you have the money for it? Now remember how you felt when I asked the first question and a thought popped in your head. You must have felt excited or hopeful maybe. But when I asked you to think about your answer, when I asked you to think about how you are going to do it, you must have started thinking about what people are going to say, what your parents are going to say, and how you're going to manage all of this money to do this thing. This shows that the initial thoughts of inspiration that we have are creative, and it's the thinking about them is what destroys that creative thinking. Because when we start to think about our thoughts, we add our judgment, our limiting beliefs based on what we have experienced in the past, and this is how we stay stuck. And in this way, we can never experience something good in the future because we are too damn scared to step into this unknown area. And that's why the author says that the root cause of all suffering is your thinking. So what is the solution? If you think it's positive thinking, it's not. Because even when you're thinking positively, you're still stuck in the past and the future. You're not really experiencing real joy and happiness. Remember the time you were truly happy about something, and you'll notice that you were not actually thinking about anything at that time. So positive thinking is not required for you to feel happy. Being happy, grateful, and joyful is our natural state. We just have to stop thinking in order to get there. We don't have to force ourselves into it. And this was something new to me because I always thought that we need to think positively in order to feel happy. So this is kind of a relief actually, because I don't have to monitor my thoughts all the time and think whether they're positive or negative. I just have to be aware of them by being aware of my feelings. If you're feeling naturally joyful, feeling a state of flow in your work, it means that you're not thinking anything. On the other hand, if you're feeling negative emotions, it means that you're thinking about something. So that's the key, being aware of your thoughts. The moment you become aware of your thoughts, you reduce the mental noise significantly. You just have to shift your focus to the present moment. That's it. So I decided to try this and eliminate some of my thoughts. And at first, I felt kind of peaceful. Like it's so nice that I can just relax and not think about anything. But then out of habit, I began worrying that if I don't think about my future plans and my goals, how am I going to achieve them? And I found the answer in this book. The author says that we need to understand where our goals and dreams are coming from. Are your goals created out of desperation or inspiration? That's the question you need to ask yourself. And to know the difference between the two is very easy. If your goals are created out of desperation, you will feel anxious. You might feel like there's some sort of urgency in achieving them. You will feel burdened with them. And even after you achieve them, you'll still feel that there's so much more to achieve. So that feeling of lack is still there. And the author says that the reason we feel this way is because our goals are created as a means to an end, which means that these goals were created as a means to getting something else. For example, wanting to start a business so that you will achieve financial freedom. When we feel like we just have to do something, it's a goal created out of desperation. When we create goals out of inspiration, we are excited about them. It doesn't feel like an obligation. When we create something without a reason and without a condition, we immediately start to feel all of the positive feelings that we want to feel. There's no goal that is inherently good or bad. If you want to make money, that is not bad as long as this goal is created from inspiration. Where does this inspiration come from? It comes as an inspired thought. Like if you feel inspired to start a YouTube channel or change your job or start a business. We all get inspired thoughts like these, which could become our goals, created out of inspiration. But the reason that we don't act on them is because we start to think about those thoughts. And that is the real problem. We start thinking that we might not become successful, or people will criticize or laugh at us, or things might go wrong. This is a form of self-sabotage. The moment we start to rationalize and analyze things, we cut ourselves from the source of those inspiration, which is the universe. And that's why we feel scared, because we are not trusting the source of our inspiration. So really, all we have to do to get out of suffering is to be in the present moment and to trust our intuition, trust our inspired thoughts. Just imagine if you didn't think about your past or your future and you were in the present moment all the time, all of your worries would kind of just disappear. There's only this moment and everything else is just an illusion, and we need to snap out of it. So friends, if you want to explore more and really understand how to implement this wisdom into your daily life, I highly recommend that you read this book. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.